Because I keep thinking to myself, what is wrong with these people? Like, who would actually choose to come here today and torture yourselves, right? That's what I keep thinking about. So here's the question. So when you take a look at this, I know what you're thinking, like, oh, baseball, our America's favorite pastime. I actually go a different place. See if you can go with me here. I'm from Iowa. You guys know that, right? Woo! Let's hear it for Iowa. Who's? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So when I see this, I think Field of Dreams. Yep. And you know what else I start thinking about? All these favorite or famous lines from the movie. Like, for example, help me here. If you build it, yep, exactly. It's pretty good crew. Let's try it again. Is this heaven? No, it is. People, I threw you a softball. Minnesota. Is this heaven? No, it is. That's what I'm talking about. Exactly, it is Minnesota. So here's a line from the movie you may not be familiar with, though. Okay? And it goes something like this. When Kevin Costner, is talking to James Earl Jones, and he says, I did it all. I listened to the voices. I did everything they told me to do. And never once did I ask, what's in it for me? It's kind of what you do each and every day, isn't it? Listen to the voices of the children. Listen to the voices of your staff, your parents, your community. And hear that superintendent. And guess what? Never once do you ask what's in it for you. And that's leadership, people. True servant leadership. Remember this, there will be a day that you leave your building. And remember, you're just a guest passing by. What is your legacy that you're going to leave? Yep. There are some days when people begin to think, you know what, today was kind of like a dumpster fire. Or in this case, maybe it's kind of like a laundry fire, right? But when I think of this, I think, you know, how often are we asked to just kind of dive in, jump in, be brave, lead with courage? How often does that happen, right? But you hesitate. Sometimes self-doubt creeps in. You begin to wonder whether or not you can do it, and that's okay. Face your fears. Lean into the fear. I think one of the biggest characteristics, and one of the biggest things that we can model to our children is failure recovery. The ability to risk and then recover from that risk. The biggest thing we should fear, is a year from now being in the exact same place as we are today. So dive in. Lean into the fear. When I think of this, I think right away people say, yeah, well, leadership, you kind of have to get your hands dirty. Yeah, I kind of go a different way. I see this, you know what I think of? I think of my parents. My father who dropped out of school when he was in 8th grade, my mother who dropped out of school when she was in freshman because they were migrant workers. And I think these are the people that worked, the hard work, the passion, everything they give. And I often hear these things in terms of what are we preparing our kids for? What's the future for them? Is it college? Is it the work environment? Is it the military? Is it a trade school? And then I think back to the wisdom of my father, and I think this is the words of encouragement I have for you as you begin to try to figure out what is it you're trying to prepare your children for, and maybe think about it differently and say, you know what? What if we just encourage our kids to make hard work their passion? Because then it doesn't matter what they choose in life, they'll be successful. And then I get to this slide, and I think to myself, yep, there are days I felt like a complete failure, probably just days like you walk in, you don't know what the hell you're doing. I'm sure you've had that feeling. And there are days and moments you begin to doubt yourself. I'm going to encourage you to this. Remember this. Low-hanging fruit, people. The low-hanging fruit is right in front of you every day. It's walking right down the hallway, right in front of you. Do you see it? Sometimes they're 4 years old. Sometimes they're 9 years old. Sometimes they're 17, and yep, sometimes they should have graduated, but they're 20, but they're still in the game. They're still in the game. The low-hanging fruit is a good morning. How you doing? So good to see you. I'm so glad you made it to school today. How are you doing today? Are you doing okay? I'm worried about you. What can we do to help? The low-hanging fruit, people. Don't let it pass you by. It's right in front of you every day. Woo! Love it. And some days I just walk into school, I go, bang! Woo! Breath of fresh air. Thank you. Are there ever days that you walk into the school thinking, what the hell have I signed up for in life, right? Like, who actually makes the decision to become a school leader? We do. We can't help ourselves. It's in our DNA. It's who we are, right? So here's the thing I want you to think about. I give you all a pass. I give you all a pass. Because let's be honest, if I'm keeping it real, and I always like to try to keep it real, they didn't teach us crap in principal school, did they? Nope. Nope. They did not. But yet you're expected to have all the answers, to know everything that's supposed to happen. You don't. So you have to begin to think about leadership differently. I mean, honestly, who goes up and knocks on the door and goes to their superintendent, hey, I just want to let you know, so thank you so much for the opportunity to be here, and I'm very grateful, and back in the beginning of the school year when you told the whole district that I was a rock star and you were so excited to be here, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing, right? Nobody does that. No teacher does that either, because they didn't teach them crap in teacher school either. And let's be honest, the next time we want to, quote, awfulize our superintendent, remember they didn't teach our superintendents crap in superintendent school either. Everyone just does the very best they can. Our job is to build a community of leaders. Look, the key for you to survive, to thrive in this environment, to be successful, is to build capacity and to remember that everybody in your organization has the capacity to lead. Everyone does. I try to remind our teachers all the time, you don't need a parking spot, you don't need a nameplate, you don't need a degree to lead. You have a heart that cares for children, you are a leader. You lead by example, just lead. We have to remember to build that community of leaders. I love John Wooden's quote, right? That the most powerful leadership tool we have is our own personal example. And how can we relate that to not only the work that we do, but our teachers and our kids as well? I think about this often, this challenge that we have, this issue of time, right? Let's be honest, how many times do you go on the school day, and how many minutes are we actually wasting? There are people constantly walking up to you and saying, hey, you got a minute? 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 And you know some of those people are not going to be a minute. Seriously, let's be honest. How many times are you walking down the hall and going, oh shit, here she comes, right? People. You know why they keep asking you for that minute? Because the bottom line is this, if people are always asking for permission, you cannot build capacity. And the reason they're asking is because they don't want to disappoint you. They want to be great for you. They don't know your core. You've got to let them know who you are, what you expect. How do we build that capacity? How are we intentional in developing their leadership skills? Because this, to me, is about skill sets. It's all about skill sets. Look, here is what I know. Leadership was never meant to be a committee of one. Never. You have to begin to see yourselves as a community builder, right? So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we bring a group of people together just like this. And then you share your vision. Share your vision. Because people need to know what the leader expects, what the leader wants, what the leader sees. And then you have to use the 4 most powerful words in leadership. I need your help. And quit trying to do this crazy job all by yourself, because you cannot do it by yourself. And if you do, you will pay a price. It'll be either health or your family. And people, both of those are loser deals. We need you vibrant. We need you healthy. And as Jessica said, look, people, this is the best job there is. But you got to take care of you first. God bless. Thank you.